Hello and welcome to Health and Fitness Redefined, and welcome to another quick tip episode, guys. We got a good one for you that you're gonna want to pay attention to. So let's start off with, what are the best exercise programs for weight loss? Obviously, as a trainer, this is something I get asked all the time. Anthony, how do I program my workouts to optimize my time in the gym so I don't have to be there for 5 hours in the best way to lose weight? Let's go into a category called HIIT training. For those that do not know what that stands for, it is high intensity interval training. HIIT training has been around for quite a while now, and is actually a heavily studied exercise program that has been shown to optimize weight loss. My brother and I did a study a while back that actually got published in a medical journal, but it took a meta-analysis of all the different types of exercise programs and compared what programs actually helped with weight loss, which ones didn't, how much did they lose, the participants in the study, and HIIT training was the one. So how do I do HIIT training, and how long should I do it for? Well, HIIT training should be done between 20 and 30 minutes. And that's why I love it. For a lot of people that are running in and out, it's you come to the gym, you get 20 to 30 minutes of it done, and then you're out the door ready to go. So what is it? Well, as kind of in the description, high intensity. So high intensity meaning we are working on getting that heart rate all the way up. And then interval. What is an interval? Obviously, we're going up, down, up, down. And then training just obviously means just working out in the gym. There's two ways to do this. One is through a cardio regimen, where you can do either run outside, hop on a treadmill, do a bike, and you can work in these heart rate zones for HIIT training and get your heart rate up, get your heart rate down, get your heart rate up, get your heart rate down. That's one way. And that does help you lose weight, but doesn't build muscle. And we've talked about how important it is to build muscles to sustain the weight loss you get. Obviously, you can lose a bunch of weight quick by just doing a cardio regimen, but you're not building muscle mass. You're not increasing your metabolic rate, which is something you've heard me talk about a lot. So we need to incorporate strength training. And you can do HIIT with a strength training regimen, because all HIIT means is heart rate zones. So without overcomplicating it, I'm going to briefly explain what heart rate zones are, and I'm going to put an equation on here for those that are watching visually. So first we need to know our max heart rate, and there's two ways of doing this. The first way is not as accurate, but still pretty good. You just take the number 220 and you minus out your age, and this will give you your resting heart rate. For those that have Apple Watches or something that's kind of synced to their daily heart rate, or you can check it right when you wake up. You can just check your pulse and figure out what your resting heart rate actually is, as opposed to taking a guess by doing 220 minus your age. So once you get that number, that's your baseline. You take that and you times it by the percentage that you want to achieve. So in order to achieve HIIT training, you need to be at least, and I know this is a little low, but I'm going to say just for now, at least 75% of your max, preferably in that 80% range. So if I was doing 80%, I would do 220 minus my resting, or just 220 minus my age to get my resting, times that by 80%. And then I have to add back my resting heart rate. So I take that number, add back my resting once I get the percentage, and that's the number I should be at when I'm working in high intensity interval training. So just to run through that really quick again, you do 220 minus your resting heart rate, you take that number, you times it by the percentage you're trying to achieve. So trying to times it by 80%, you just times it by 0.8, or just put in a calculator 80%. You add back your resting heart rate, and this gives you your target heart rate zone for what you want to achieve while you're doing the training. So when we're doing this training, it's important that we really focus on that interval aspect of it. So now we have where we need to be at our peak. So what we're going to do is we're going to do warm up. I always suggest doing warm ups, guys. Do some kind of light cardio or dynamic stretching. We're not doing static stretching. We're doing dynamic stretching. Just movements. Get your muscles warm. We're doing that for between 5 and 10 minutes. And then from there, we're going into a medium heart rate zone, which is our kind of our baseline, which is that 60% range. So we need to calculate that number as well. And we're going to sit there for a minute. Once we get there for a minute, we're going to jump you up to the 80%. And we're going to hold that as long as you can sustain it, without you're not feeling faint, dizzy, or anything like that. Do that for, let's say, roughly a minute. After we do it for a minute, we get your heart rate back down. We get it back to that 60% range. Hold that for a minute. Go back up. Minute, 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 minute. And we just do this. And this is what technically is considered HIIT training. So it's a minute on, a minute off. And as you get better and as your heart rate recovers faster because you're working on the cardiovascular health, you can actually start playing around with the intervals. So you can do a minute on, 20 seconds off. And if you get fully recovered, then go back. Or you could do 2 minutes on and 45 seconds off. And you can really play with this. It just is based upon how quickly your heart rate recovers and how much you actually do this. And you'll see the more you do it, the shorter rest periods you take because you feel fully recovered, ready to go back. So now the extra component is adding in this weightlifting concept to it because we need to tear our muscles in the gym in order to build muscle. So what I like to do is if I have a very stricter split and I'm going to the gym more days, only working target muscle groups. So let's just say I'm doing a push-pull leg day. It's pretty standard in our industry for those working out 5 to 6 days a week. So if I'm doing a push day, for example, I'm going to go from push-ups to tricep extensions to shoulder presses in my on zone. And I'm doing this relatively quickly. And I'm just constantly supersetting. And then once I go to more of my rest stages and I'm working on recovery, this is when I'll just do one set, work, break, back on, superset it around again. Maybe add some battle ropes because those definitely get heart rate up there. Do something like that, cardio exercise, and then get it down. I know a lot of you love burpees. That's another really good one to get your heart rate up to that 80% range. Do like 5 burpees, you'll be winded. So that's one component. The other component is if you don't go to the gym often, especially if you're in that 3-day-a-week range, you could just do, depending on how much rest you have, a full body, be off, full body, be off, full body. That's another way. And that's actually a lot easier to get in the heart rate zones because you're working bigger muscle groups and a lot of them. So the more muscle groups you work in an exercise, the more oxygen your body needs. Therefore, the more your heart rate's going to go up, which is why a lot of people, when they do squats, are like, oh my God, I'm winded, because you're working your glutes and your quads, which are the 2 biggest muscle groups in your body. So it requires a lot more ATP and a lot more oxygen to work those muscle groups. Just keep in mind, as you're weightlifting, just a little parameters for all the listeners out there. The 48-hour rule, which, as I like to state, is always in effect. So that means if I'm working my pec major, which is my chest muscle, I'm not working my pec major for the next 48 hours. So we're not doing a full body back-to-back, and we're not doing an upper body back-to-back. We're giving at least 2 days rest because that gives your muscles time to recover, and that's when you build these muscles. If you're constantly tearing them and not giving them time to restore, they're never going to get bigger. So keep in mind, rest is as important as activity. So you could always just do an upper-lower split on and off that way to make sure you're just targeting different muscle groups. But between the same one, it's always 48 hours difference. So that's a quick tip, guys, for you for HIIT training. Yet again, it stands for high intensity interval training. It is done between 20 and 30 minutes of time. I prefer 30 because it gives you time to warm up and cool down. And then we're really targeting in those heart rate zones. So we're going from 80% of our max to 60, 80% to 60, and we're just constantly going back and forth. And we can either do this through cardio sessions if you're doing your own separate weightlifting days on the side, or you could do a combination if you're really short for time and do more of a circuit style training where you can really get your heart rate up while you're doing strength training. So I hope you learned something from this, guys. If you want to hear more, reach out, Health Fitness Redefined Podcast at gmail.com. Again, that is Health Fitness Redefined Podcast at gmail.com. And I look forward to seeing you guys next week. For us, we know what it's like to feel unhealthy, depressed,
and downright defeated. We want to show others there is a right way, and through fitness, you can do anything you set your mind to. Fitness can give you that motivation, confidence, energy you need to bridge that mental gap and prevent you from missing important life events. We understand it's about feeling better, living longer, and being good examples for our kids. We understand this because we live it. And for us, that's the redefined difference.